is the Prosperity Podcast. This is the podcast on Prosperity Partnership. We are an alliance of elected First Nations and municipal governments, private business, post-secondaries, nonprofits, and industry associations. My name is Bruce Williams. We're talking today with Lorie Watson, who is the Economic Development Officer for Burns Lake, BC. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you. I want to recognize, first of all, and acknowledge that I'm sitting in the territories traditionally held ancestrally by the Lekwungen speaking people, the Songhees and the Esquimalt First Nation. You are also in a traditional territory.
I am. We are in the traditional territory of Burns Lake Band and Lake Bibby Nation.
Great. So we're going to talk in a couple of minutes about some remarkable challenges your economy has faced through some disruptions, in particular, the explosion of a mill facility and the wildfires that we've all heard about. But before that, Lorie, I want to start by talking about Burns Lake is also a tourist economy, the same as we here. You're a bit more remote, a bit more rural, but tell me how that's impacted your economy so far.
So far, as everyone has seen, a lot of the businesses have closed, especially our hotels. There's no people aren't traveling, so people aren't staying at them. The restaurants have been hit hard. They are mostly to take out, but we're not seeing a lot of travelers coming through, of course, just with the messaging of staying home.
How's that impacting everybody's life day to day? And I don't mean that to be too simple a question, but how has the spirit and the culture in Burns Lake responded to this?
Yes. There's been a lot of conversation around mental health. You know, even with the social distancing, we are still recommending people at least get some fresh air, get outside. Now that the weather's getting nicer, being able to, you know, get out and be able to enjoy the nicer weather that we're having. We really have been thinking a lot about how long this is going to last, and you know what that does to people that are you know, that are considered most vulnerable. So our senior, residents, this has been extremely hard on them, not being able to see friends that they usually go out and see. And we're trying to support as many community members as we can, and just listening to them and what they're feeling. We're trying to see what resources that we can provide as well.
So I just want to geographically frame where you are, and I have a map in my head here. So
Sure.
you're west of Prince George and you're southeast
Yes,
of Smithers.
that's correct.
The issues through this with supply lines or things getting through town nearby?
So yes, so for supply line, we have heard you know, issues with that because you know, we talk about a lot of our retail businesses here that support you know, our residents as well as tourism, and you know, just trying to get those supplies in. And what has been really difficult is when we went through the panic buying. That was really difficult. We only have 2 grocery stores here, so we have people going through and buying up all the toilet paper and meat and things like that. It's not just, oh, we can get it in the morning. It's days or next week, right? So it's the whole thing of how long will it take to get more supplies in when they're gone.
So your population is about 1,800, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
It's pretty easy to get 1,800 people together, isn't it, for them to better understand each other, what each other are doing, rather. You talked about the mental health challenges, but a lot coming together, a lot of outreach.
Yes, so that's one thing. As we're a smaller community, we do have that connection where you know mostly at anyone, and you know we've been trying to provide Zoom meetings. We've been doing a lot of those like everyone else, but when you see people downtown, you know, you keep your social distance, but you still ask, how are you? How are you doing? How is your family? And, you know, trying to check in with people has been a big priority for us. And we've been reaching out as much as we can to individuals and business owners and residents just to see that, you know, that we, you know, showing that we care and show, you know, as individuals, we care about our community and each other. And I just think it's probably a little bit easier for us because we are a smaller, close-knit community than maybe in the cities where people don't feel that connection. It was really heartwarming when you drive around Burnaby and you see people have put windows
Oh, yeah.
and you know, doing what they're doing all over the place. And you know, we're trying to get through it as best
Yeah,
we
we have
can.
lots of hearts in the too.
Mhm.
Okay, so Lorie, let's talk
Mhm.
about a couple of things that were
Sure.
very disruptive in the economy of Burns Lake over the last few years. So in 2012,
Yes.
the Babine Forest Products mill had a catastrophic explosion. Tell me about
Yes.
that.
Yeah, so in 2012, the explosion actually killed two people. It was devastating to the community, especially in a close-knit like we are. 250 people worked there, lost their jobs right away. So that was so impactful. The numbers of indirect to businesses, they were accounted for 1,500 jobs
Wow.
that were lost in connection. So, in all, you're looking back and you're like, why is Burns Lake still
Yeah,
here? What did Burns
that's
Lake
what I want to
do?
know. I want to know what you
you
did.
know, yes, yes. So one thing what we did was one of the things we looked at is how we could diversify because we are a community that is so reliant on the forestry industry.
Mhm.
So one thing that we do have is that we have tourism opportunities, but they were not something that the community had looked to before the explosion. So after the explosion, they did they look at all the assets we had here and what could we do to develop them. Now, after the explosion, there was a lot of where they tried to retrain workers and look for other opportunities for work to work in the meantime, but people stayed in the community. And with the mill deciding to rebuild, there was that hope that the jobs would come back. So what a lot of people did was the family stayed here and then the workers would travel. So the workers traveled a little bit, and that's one thing through this area. There is not one mill.
Right.
There's several and various mills, so they would just travel a little further to a different mill if they were able to
Did they go
find
to the
work
oil
there.
patch and that sort of
Um,
thing too? Yeah.
yeah, so some of them would, we don't have it close here, but yes, they could travel to Alberta, even, in some of the northern areas that have oil and gas in BC as well. And so that's what they did. So it took about a year and a half to rebuild, but during that rebuild, that's when a lot of work was done in the tourism, and that's what mountain biking became Burns' number one tourism attraction. So here, there's been a lot of money and labor and time and volunteer work going into developing the trail system for the mountain biking.
So you must be confident though, because again, of the rural sort of isolated place where you are,
Mhm.
it could be
Mhm.
that that could get underway sooner than us here, bringing thousands of
Yes.
people into downtown to walk around and
Mhm.
breathe all over each other. So
Yes, and that was one of the things too, is that Burns Lake looked at, okay, their mountain biking is very popular all over BC. What can we do differently? So we do differently. We offer the family experience in mountain biking. So a lot of mountain biking is advanced trails. You have to be pretty experienced to do a lot of those. But what we do is right from they have training and they have many getaways where you can be just the novice and they will teach you everything it has to be. And we have a business here called Burnt who will take you up to the top, and you can even be a young child and safely learn how to mountain bike. And so that's what's been a big attraction here and a big selling point for Burns Lake, is that it offers a family experience, and it's not just for the young 20-year-old to do the death-defying runs down the mountain.
yeah, we're speaking with
Mhm.
Lorie Watson, who's the Economic Development Officer for Burns Lake, BC. So when the biking came along, when the trail biking and the mountain biking,
Mhm.
were they locals that started that, or did they come from away to set that up?
Yes. So, what is a lot of the locals? So we have a really strong and committed biking community here, and they really just wanted something for themselves to do with their families, and that's where it started from. And we have the the Big Pig Festival every
The
summer.
Big Pig Festival, what's that?
And so it plays off of the mountain's called Boar Mountain, so it
Oh,
plays
okay.
off the pig. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. So they have the cookout and barbecue and the whole thing, and but it's so interesting. Like you'll go over there to park to and you'll see American license plates from Utah and all over. So, but they've been through the years really doing their marketing plans. So they've been even hosting professional riders and that have a YouTube following. So
Hmm.
that's one thing that they've invested in now here with COVID. That's had to be canceled. The ride we had planned this year.
Yeah.
So what we do is we connect other near communities. So when we have had the professional rider come through, he's stopped in Prince George, rode the mountain trails there, and then stopped in here, and then on to Smithers and Terrace. So we really market the area as a region. That's another
Hmm.
thing that we do. Is it's just not Burns Lake; it's the whole area. We feel like when we market the region, we also are benefiting each of the communities that are
Yeah.
in here, especially because we are such a rural community, and we don't, not everyone has heard of Burns Lake. And I know coming from Alberta, until I I actually got a job here, I did not know a lot of Burns
But
Lake,
now you
but
know it
yeah.
all.
Yes, it's just, yes, yes. So now just getting the background of it, and that's one thing that came out of the recovery from the mill explosion was a lot of collaborative works. Working with a local tourism operator that was, mountain biking. We have a lot of resorts in the area as well that provide camping experiences, tourism experiences. We have, even we have LD Lakes District Air that you can go up in the airplane and look at all the beautiful lakes and hills that we have in the area. So because we are rural, our number one asset is the recreation aspect, and living in a community where you have this right in your
Yeah.
backyard, we're very
So here you have these biking trails and they're going
yes,
through the beautiful mountains and the trees and the forest that surround you, and that's all in play. Then the wildfire came.
yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so that's the thing that was a little bit different, and people did not. So we were in the village itself was not evacuated, but felt huge impact because of the smoke.
Hmm.
So because of the smoke, people were not traveling in the area. We lost thousands of dollars for the tourism operators and the tourism related businesses. Um, from coming out of that, what we were learning at the need to diversify and the need for if one sector of our economy is hit, we have to be strong in sectors. So what we have been trying to do is being proactive, and what we developed was our economic diversification plan that looked at all the sectors that we have in our economy, such as have a strong downtown business core. We have the tourism and recreation, and we have the agri-food because we are rural, and there is that food producers that we have in the area as
Hmm.
well, and trying to attract more residents as well in all of this.
So that was all going along. Then the fires went away,
Yes.
then the cyclists
Mm-hmm.
came back, and then
Mm-hmm.
COVID came along. So,
Yes.
how do you feel Burns Lake in general and its residents and even the strategy itself? Do you feel more prepared to manage COVID, or do you feel less prepared, or that you're more vulnerable because of these two previous incidences?
I feel like Burns Lake is become what we call a very resilient economy, and very resilient. I feel like the people here is the feeling is that if something comes, we'll deal with it, and we find the ways of how and work around these challenges and these barriers. So that's one thing that we work towards every day is finding what opportunities that we can put our assets to, and what can we do to help others in the community, and just build on those assets. Because what we find is that if we just let it happen, then it doesn't change anything, and it's really it's coming together and looking at what the opportunities are and what can we do to make things
Yeah.
better.
Have you identified any new opportunities so far?
So yeah, so we're actually in the middle of updating our tourism
Hmm.
plan. So we've hired actually a tourism coordinator, and we also have a tourism consultant to complete the update of the tourism plan. And what we're doing is actually having a huge section on COVID, and is actually going to be part of our recovery. And what we're looking at is what assets that we have here that haven't been developed in the past. And one of the things, we spoke a little bit at the beginning, is that we are a First Nation uh, community as well. We have Indigenous tourism and Indigenous tourism operators that operate in Burns Lake. And I think, working together with all of the community, that we become more successful in our tourism projects. So that's one thing that we want to make sure too, is that we're not doing the same thing. So communication is becoming so important, and not to be all working in our own little silo. We have to know, what's going on regionally, what's going on in our backyard, but maybe from a different organization.
Hmm.
So, and we really try to support each other in the different projects that we are doing.
And actually, you're not far from the Wet Sweatin' Nation too. So
Mhm.
I've been getting some attention for
Yes,
things like.
yes, yes.
So, Lorie, we're just going to wrap this up. We do
Sure.
something just kind of for fun at the end of these interviews
Okay.
all the time. So we say to people, imagine the world you were living in 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and then imagine the world we're going to be living in 2 years ahead from now.
Right.
What would you want to see more of from 2 years ago, and what would you want to see less of from 2 years ago down the road?
So, if what I really like is to see, which I think has really changed COVID, is the communication. People are reaching out more now than ever before, and businesses are talking to each other. It's and trying to support each other. And I find, like, 2 years ago, that didn't really happen. Everybody kind of just did their own thing, and now we're talking about, okay, how can we get people shopping? Stop using Amazon and come back to the stores.
Yep.
So that has been a huge thing that we've been talking about lately. Is out of COVID, I think that's what we've seen a lot, is online shopping, and people feeling comfortable coming into the stores again and supporting the local economy and keeping the money here, and not going to those online giants such as Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah. We're saying the same thing here.
Yes,
Um,
and mhm.
Sorry, you're going to say something?
Oh yes. So I was just going to say, in the future too,
Mhm.
what we would like to see is that the we're seeing a lot of people that are excited about developing tourism. So that is one of the things that we hadn't seen before, is the excitement and the buy-in. So that's one thing we know that's very important, is that the business support the tourism and developing the plan, so it's not just it is a whole community plan, not just the village of Burn plan, and that we what we do is implement it as a community.
Well, best of luck with it all. I know it's going to be successful. You're a very resilient community, and community leaders like you are going to make a big difference in this. Website for people to find out more about Burns Lake.
Yes, so it's www.burnslake.ca.
Easy enough. Lorie Watson, Economic Development Officer. Thanks so much for your time, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
If you want to find out more about us at the South Island Prosperity Partnership, of course, that's us right there, southislandprosperity.ca. Connect with me by email through that if you like. Lorie, thanks again, and to all of you, stay well, and we'll see you next time on the Prosperity Podcast.